At Dell, we don't build technology for just anyone. We build it for only one. You. Dell. Purely you. For just $449, build this Dell Dimension E310 with an Intel Pentium 4 with HT technology and get a 17-inch flat panel upgrade and free shipping.
Tonight, sure, Joe is the right guy when it comes to politics and injustice, but does Simon Cowell think he could be the next American Idol? America! Scarborough Country, MSNBC tonight at 9.
Welcome to the show. I'm Tucker Carlson. Tonight, war breaks out in the Middle East. Israel attacks Lebanon. Fears that Iran could be drawn into the conflict very soon. Tonight, we'll ask the question our policymakers apparently aren't asking. How does this affect us in the United States? We have vested interest there, and what can we do about it now? We'll have a live report from the scene in just a minute. Also ahead, the Ken Lay outrage. A minister compares the deceased and disgraced founder of Enron to Martin Luther King and then Christ himself. What was he thinking? He'll tell us just ahead in his very first interview. And Bill O'Reilly makes his inaugural appearance on our Beat the Press segment. See him in action coming up in just a minute. But first, breaking news from the Middle East. Israel is refusing to back down, teetering on the edge of an all-out ground war with Lebanon. Airstrikes in southern Lebanon reportedly killed at least 55 people and wounded more than 100 today. That's as Israel struck bridges, roads, Beirut's commercial airport, and two major army bases, imposing an air and sea blockade to force Hezbollah to free 2 Israeli soldiers. The group took those hostages Wednesday. Hezbollah, meanwhile, fired some 85 rockets into towns in northern Israel, killing 1 person and wounding 42 others. Here's President Bush earlier today talking about the crisis.
We were headed toward the roadmap. Things looked positive. And terrorists stepped up and kidnapped a soldier, fired rockets into Israel. Hezbollah doesn't want there to be peace. The militant arm of Hamas doesn't want there to be peace.
Joining me now on the phone just outside Beirut, Lebanon, is NBC's Middle East Bureau Chief Richard Engel. Richard, where are you? How'd you get there, and what's happening?
Well, Tucker, I'm actually now in Beirut itself. It has been an incredibly long journey that started in Gaza this morning. I left the southern front of this conflict, went through Gaza, went through Israel, then flew to Jordan, drove all through Jordan, crossed Syria, crossed through Lebanon, and am now in Beirut. Lebanon is effectively cut off right now with the airport knocked out of commission. The Israeli Air Force struck all 3 runways. Those were just among hundreds of targets that Israel struck today. This is Israel's biggest offensive in Lebanon in 24 years. As we came through the border, crossing at a land crossing between Syria and Lebanon, there were all of the cars, all of the traffic was coming out of Lebanon. I think we were the only vehicle going into the country. There were buses full of people heading our direction. There were both lanes of traffic were going out of the country. Then as we crossed into Lebanon, it was a very eerie, quiet drive. The drivers were looking up in the sky. Israel had threatened to bomb the road between Syria and Lebanon. All of this, according to Israel, to punish Lebanon, to punish Hamas, and to prevent that militant organization from bringing 2 Israeli soldiers out of the country, as Israeli intelligence fears that Hezbollah might try and do, as risky as that sounds.
Well, I know it doesn't sound like Israel is at war with the Lebanese army, such as it is, but, I mean, is the Lebanese army responding? Is the legitimate government of Lebanon responding in any visible way?
They are calling for calm. There is a UN delegation. The government of Lebanon is very much torn on this issue. Many people here want nothing more than peace. I'm in Beirut. It's normally a very vibrant city. There's a lot of money in circulation, good restaurants. The country has effectively recovered from 15 years of civil war, and a large segment of the society simply doesn't want this, doesn't want the airport cut off now at the peak of tourist season. However, there is another segment of society in a very divided city, which is now divided effectively between the north and the south. In the past, it was between the east and the west. Now it's between the rich area along the coast and the poor Shiite areas where the Hezbollah is very strong in the south of Beirut, and that is where the airstrikes have been focusing throughout the day. There was just a leaflet drop a short while ago in which by Israel, in which statements in Arabic by the Israeli government told people living in southern neighborhoods in Beirut to avoid Hezbollah buildings because they will be attacked.
NBC's Richard Engel in Beirut, one of the few there, a brave man. Thanks, Richard. So is the Middle East on the verge of full-blown war tonight? And what can the United States do about it, if anything? Here with more, MSNBC military analyst, retired Army Colonel Jack Jacobs. Colonel Jacobs, thanks for joining us.
Good afternoon.
Is this escalation, this war, is it good for the United States or bad?
Well, anytime that there's anything like this, it's not good for the United States. If it's not good for the Middle East, it's not good for the United States. We need less of it, not more. So it's not going to help us very much because, as you saw recently, the United States vetoed a UN resolution condemning Israel, and we're on the short end of that. There are very few who are on our side and on Israel's side with respect to this. So it's not good for the United States.
Well, we are on Israel's side, and I think we ought to be on Israel's side. Good for us. But on the other hand, we have some influence over Israel, or should. Why do we allow this if it's not good for us? And why is the president essentially endorsing it if it's not good for us?
Well, we have to look at it in the context of our relations with everybody else in the Middle East. It's not particularly good for that. But it is vitally important that Israel survive. All these guys want to push Israel into the sea. And the continuing problems that are the Palestinians on the one hand and Hezbollah in southern Lebanon on the other are just going to get worse over time. In particular, the Hezbollah is funded by Iran. It's a very bad situation indeed, and ultimately there could be a very big conflagration where it's not going to get any better, quite honestly, and there's no way that we're going to be able to influence Israel to do exactly what we tell them to do. At the end of the day, they're going to do what they want.
Yeah, but we give more aid to Israel than to any other country, and again, I'm not calling that into question. Good for us. We ought to support Israel. I firmly believe that. However, that aid doesn't seem to buy us any influence at all. I mean, again, oil prices at their highest, I think, recorded ever price today in the wake of this news. And if you're right that this isn't good for the United States, it does seem odd to me that we're not calling in any of the chits we've accumulated over the years with Israel and trying to get them to behave in a way that helps us. I mean,
yeah, none of our aid is going to go with any strings attached. Just like none of our aid that goes to Egypt goes with. I mean, they get over $2 billion a year from us. None of that goes with any strings attached. At the end of the day, the bad guys are not necessarily after us. They're really after countries like Egypt and Saudi Arabia and Syria and Iraq. And they would like to see all of those regimes pushed into the sea, not just Israel.
Well, it's a shame. It seems to me our aid ought to come with strings attached to everyone, Egypt included, absolutely. Now, what about the line one often hears that democracies don't attack one another? You hear this from the Bush administration all the time. We need to make Iraq a democracy because democracies are inherently peaceful and stable. There's never been a war between two democracies. I think we're witnessing one right now.
Well, writ large, it really doesn't matter at the end of the day. To paraphrase President Clinton, it depends on what you mean by democracy.
Right.
You know, the Palestinians just voted a bunch of bad guys into office.
That's right.
And so would you call them a democracy?
Yes.
And so at the end of the day, I think while the president isn't being disingenuous, he is being very simple-minded about this, because the question is not a fight between democracies or between people who live in a democracy and those who do not. It's one of competing interests, and it's a very difficult situation. If you try to draw the line between those who are democracies and those who aren't, you're going to wind up on the short end, as we have discovered.
Yeah, or just because you call yourself a democracy doesn't mean you're a good place. And finally, could you see this spinning out of control? Could you see Iran, for instance, getting pulled into this if these hostages wind up being taken to Iran? I mean, could, in the next couple of weeks, this become a full-scale Middle Eastern war? Well,
the only way that Iran will be involved is if they are taken to Iran. I doubt seriously if Iran would even let that happen, because it would make life extremely difficult for them. One option people have been thinking about is that all the Arab countries gang up on Israel now. And I think that's probably what you're suggesting, but there's been some history there. About 3 or 4 times that's happened in the past, and Israel has done quite well. There's certainly none of these countries, either alone or in concert, are any match for Israel, and Israel will be able to hold its own. So I don't think that the war is going to widen in any way. I think Israel is going to continue to punish Lebanon, which is effectively punishing Hezbollah.
All right. Colonel Jack Jacobs, thanks a lot for joining us.
Good to be here.
Still to come, Ken Lay was found guilty of one of the biggest corporate frauds in American history. So why did one minister compare him to Jesus? He'll tell us in his very first TV interview. And Katie Couric's media blackout. Why did she silence a blogger? He'll tell us why. Just ahead in the Beat the Press segment. It's an exclusive.
There's a ton of multivitamins out there. Which one do you choose? Centrum rises to the top. Centrum balances combinations of nutrients to help them work to their full potential. Like C recharges E to optimize antioxidant power and help maintain immunity. With 8 interactive combinations that help your body get more out of Centrum. There's a lot to choose from. And then there's Centrum. Centrum is balanced and the most complete from A to Zinc.
My name is Leonard Ross. I was born in 1906.
The Dust Bowl, the Depression, and 2 World Wars. That's just a few of the things Rosie Ross has seen in his lifetime. Through it all, he's had 2 great loves, music and his own independence.
If it's Friday, I'm playing at the Pinecone Inn.
Long-term care insurance from Genworth Financial can help you live on your own terms in your own home, receiving covered benefits where and when you choose. Genworth Financial, insurance for living, solutions for life.
Still to come, Dan Rather and Larry King both make return appearances on our Beat the Press segment. Don't miss those. And why Valerie Plame is suing Dick Cheney and Karl Rove. That's all coming up.
Want the lowest prices on 3- and 4-star hotels? Go to Hotwire.com. Hotwire has special deals with 4-star hotels. They give Hotwire their unsold rooms, and Hotwire gives them to you at prices lower than any other travel site. Guaranteed. Like 4 stars in Chicago. Travelocity price $179. Hotwire price just $83. So why risk paying more when Hotwire gives you unsold rooms at deep discounts? Visit Hotwire.com for the hottest deals on 4-star hotels. Hotwire.com. Log on today.
A real choice in home phone service, because with Comcast Digital Voice, now you're talking. For one flat rate, you get unlimited local and nationwide long distance on the phones you already have, using the power of the Comcast fiber optic network we built from the ground up. That includes 12 calling features and voicemail you can check online. So don't just chat. Talk with Comcast Digital Voice. Just $33 a month for up to 12 months. Comcast, the power of one.
Sure, Joe's the right guy when it comes to politics and injustice, but does he have what it takes to be the next American Idol?
I still believe in a place called America!
Find out from the man who'd know better than anyone, Simon Cowell. See why the critics are calling Scarborough Country essential viewing. Scarborough Country, MSNBC tonight at 9.
If you're a homeowner with an adjustable rate mortgage, what happens to your monthly payment if the rates go up again? Well, if you have a $200,000 mortgage at 6% APR, a 1% increase in the APR will actually increase your monthly payments by 11%. That equals an extra monthly payment every year. Want peace of mind? Lock in a new low fixed-rate loan from Ditech.com, even if you have a credit problem. Log on to Ditech.com or call 1-800-71-FIXED.
Be brilliant with E-Trade's exclusive intelligent lending optimizer. Be insightful and explore multiple lending possibilities in seconds. Be in command and make sure you get the most value of every dollar you borrow. In other words, be master of your domain.
Oh, there's my earring.
The intelligent lending optimizer. Only at E-Trade.
Welcome back. Jesus Christ, Martin Luther King, and Ken Lay? Which of these is not like the others? At Lay's memorial service this week, one prominent black preacher called the deceased Enron founder, quote, the victim of a lynching. So how does a man convicted of one of the biggest corporate frauds in American history compare to the Son of God and the slain civil rights leader? My next guest is here to explain. Joining me now, the Reverend Bill Lawson. He's the founding pastor of Wheeler Avenue Baptist Church. He's also the president of the William A. Lawson Institute for Peace and Prosperity. The Reverend Lawson joins us from New York. Reverend Lawson, thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
So you've compared Ken Lay to Martin Luther King and Jesus. That's not a comparison I've heard before. What do you mean by it?
What I mean is that Ken Lay has been vilified, and I understand why he has been vilified. Many people lost money in the fall of Enron, and it is normal when you've got a CEO who is in charge that he should be blamed for that fall. My consideration is that while right now he is considered almost a monster, I think that history has a way of vindicating people who were looked at negatively. I remember that when John Kennedy was president, there were many people who looked at him negatively. He couldn't get bills through Congress. He had proposed a civil rights bill, a voting rights bill, and simply could not get them through Congress. But after he was assassinated, then people began to look at him differently. And right now, history makes him a hero.
Well, are you suggesting that at some point in history, in the future, Ken Lay will be seen as a Christ-like figure, or someone on the level of Martin Luther King or President Kennedy?
I think that he will be looked at as a man who has made many good contributions, as a man who has a very good character, and as a man who was not responsible for the fall of Enron, in spite of the fact that he was CEO.
Well, he's made many good contributions to you, I notice. He was a board member of the William A. Lawson Institute for Peace and Prosperity, of which, of course, you are the head. It's your institute. He gave money to various black churches in and around Houston, to the NAACP. I mean, people could get the impression that you are very loyal, but paying back his memory for the money he gave you when he was still alive.
Which means that people don't know me very well. But it is true that he gave to many minority causes, and you have to recognize that in the South, major corporate figures would have given to symphonies and operas and to universities, but they would not normally stoop down to give to minority causes. Lay was the first in Houston to do that, and more or less set a standard so that other corporate entities likewise did that.
But you would hate to give the impression that it's possible to buy support from preachers like yourself. I mean, here you are comparing the guy to Jesus when, he was only one of 15 Enron employees to plead guilty or be convicted of crimes. I mean, it's not as if, he was the only one blamed. There's quite a bit of evidence he, in fact, committed crimes. So you are giving the impression that if you donate money to you or possibly other preachers, you get support, and that's kind of a troubling impression to give, isn't it?
Well, I don't think that what I'm saying is that because he gave money, he was a good man. I knew his character, and his basic character was not criminal. And so what I'm talking about is that once you know the real Ken Lay, then you understand that while he was involved in some things that were bad, and he certainly was in the wrong place at the wrong time, that he was not personally responsible for the fall of Enron.
Ken Lay was neither black nor poor, I'm quoting you now, as James Byrd was. But I'm angry because Ken was the victim of a lynching. Ken Lay was not pulled out of his house in the middle of the night by night riders and strung up from a tree. He had due process. He had, the most expensive lawyers one could possibly have. He had supporters like you. A lynching? I mean, that's totally over the top.
Maybe, but he didn't have due process. There was a trial that was put together very quickly. He had asked for a change of venue because Houston viewed him extremely negatively, and the judge refused to give him a change of venue. He had asked if it would be possible for him to be tried for his own crimes. That didn't happen. He was rather linked with Jeff Skilling, and so that they were tried together. There are a number of things that say that he wasn't given due process. And so far as I'm concerned, anytime you take a person who has been accused of something that hasn't been proven and take away from him everything, including his good name, that would be parallel to a lynching.
I think that that's completely wrong, and I think most people would agree. But finally, there are 28,000 employees of Enron who are out of jobs. There are investors who lost, I think, about $60 billion from Enron. Any one of those people, any one of the victims of Enron, of Ken Lay, come forward to tell you how repelled they were by your comments?
Well, so far, I haven't heard that. I was at his funeral just yesterday, And I'm sure that there probably will be people who will come forward and tell me that they were repelled. But so far, they haven't done that.
All right. The Reverend William Lawson. Mr. Lawson, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, sir.
Still to come, won't anybody give Star Jones a job? Cable networks are falling all over themselves denying they'd hire her. But is she really the subject of a secret bidding war? Probably. Details in a minute. And Jack Kevorkian on his deathbed. Has he changed his mind about assisted suicide? That story's coming up. Stay tuned.
Introducing Kraft Natural Cheese Crumbles.
The Crumbelievable.
Intense nuggets of real Kraft cheese crumbled right off the block. Good. They're Crumbelievable.
Another day, another billion in big business loans.
Yeah, sir, there's something on your shoe. Good morning. If I could just have a minute of your time.
Small
See that my
business owner.
is strong and profit. We're playing it to double our...
Give me a pencil.
Space my legs for the last 2 days. What's he want? A loan or something? Hey, oh! Look, he's got a business plan.
Does your bank think small about your small business? Call Capital One instead for no-hassle business loans, lines of credit, and credit cards.
Hello, Capital One.
What's in your wallet?
Chevy Impala SS with active fuel management, which means that a powerful 303 horsepower V8 also gets great highway mileage. Since Impala SS gives you 8 cylinders for power and 4 cylinders for better fuel economy. There's also the security of a 5-star frontal crash test rating. The Impala SS. It's a whole new animal. That's an American revolution.
Some things men don't want to talk about.
Like prostate problems. But I learned 1 in 3 men will have them. So I switched to One-A-Day Men's.
A complete multivitamin plus lycopene, which Harvard studies suggest may help prostate health.
Some things are healthy to talk about.
One-A-Day Men's.
Are you one of the millions of people who think you just can't learn a second language? The problem isn't that you can't learn. It's that you've been using the wrong method. Well, thanks to our breakthrough software called Rosetta Stone, learning a new language is now incredibly easy and a whole lot faster.
I've probably learned more in the first 2 weeks than I have in months of taking formal classes.
Unlike traditional methods that require hours of tedious translation and memorization, with Rosetta Stone, you're actively engaged in each lesson. From the very beginning, you'll see real-life images and hear native speakers.
El caballo está saltando.
This powerful combination teaches you to think in a new language, not memorize, so speaking comes naturally. You learn far more easily and more quickly.
I've used a lot of different mediums, the books, the tapes, and it just, bar none, it's the best one that I've ever used.
I was one of those people who thought they could not learn a language, and I needed to learn a language for my job, so I needed to learn Spanish. And I learned Spanish quickly, and I did it through Rosetta Stone.
Rosetta Stone is so fast and effective, it's used by the U.S. State Department, NASA, the FBI, and top Fortune 500 companies, and is the world's leading language learning software.
It's almost like having your own person there teaching you, your own private tutor who is just very relaxed in your home with you, sitting there teaching you the language.
Rosetta Stone is the fastest way to learn a new language. And to prove it, we'll send you our amazing demo CD absolutely free when you call. There's no obligation to buy. Right away, you'll see for yourself just how fast and easy it is to learn a new language with Rosetta Stone.
This really is a great program.
I believe that you can learn any language with this program.
If you're serious about learning a language, there's no easier way to do it than with Rosetta Stone.
Call the number on your screen now and see for yourself why Rosetta Stone is the fastest way to learn a language, guaranteed.
MSNBC.com, winner of the National Press Club Best Journalism Site Award for the 4th time. Your online home for NBC News, MSNBC.com.
Welcome back. It's time now for Beat the Press. First up, a favorite of ours, Dan Rather. Last night he sat down with CNN's Larry King for his, quote, first in-depth interview since being forced out of CBS News. Rather, ever the hard-nosed journalist, showed a softer side, talking about love and what's in his bones. Listen.
I don't want to stop doing the news. The news it's in my marrow.
You mentioned loving the news. What do you mean by that? You know, as you get up in the morning, you
You love the story? You love war stories? You love that?
Well, I don't love war stories. Nobody loves war stories.
Most news is bad.
But that's not altogether true, but another subject for another day. What do I mean by loving the news? You know what love is. There's a dictionary definition of love, and there's inside you. You know what you love.
What do I mean by loving the news? You know what love is. It's inside you. It's hard to avoid the obvious conclusion. Dan Rather is bonkers. He lived among us for many years, and we sort of knew that, but we didn't really know. And now we do know. Next up, Bill O'Reilly. Last night, he invited on a pair of models, twins, called Shane and Sia Barbie, to talk about neutering dogs. The pretext was the decision by the city of Los Angeles to distance itself from a neutering program sponsored by the Hooters restaurant chain. Here's part of their conversation.
They were mostly offended by the picture that was on the website, on the city's website.
A picture of what?
A girl in a bikini.
Hooters for neuters. It was a girl in a bikini.
A girl in a bikini. All right,
Yeah.
so you're blaming it on the feminists, and they put pressure on L.A., and L.A. won't take the money, so the animals suffer and the taxpayers suffer. Do I have it?
Yes, you do.
All right,
And
ladies.
that's very nicely said.
Thank you. And we appreciate you coming on the program.
Thank
and next
you.
we'll wrap things up with the most ridiculous item of the day and some of your men.
Did you hear that? Did you notice that the Barbie twins interview was not the most ridiculous item of the day? Which is remarkable if you think about it, because it really was pretty ridiculous. The Barbie twins are not veterinarians. They're not castration experts. They do not work for Hooters or the city of Los Angeles. In other words, they have actually nothing to do with the story. On the other hand, they are sometime lesbian lovers who once posed for Hustler magazine and have overcome bulimia. Plus, their godmother was Dusty Springfield. So in fact, they're good TV. There's a reason Bill O'Reilly has such excellent ratings. And finally, Katie Couric, now of CBS News. It turns out Madonna, Bon Jovi, and the Dixie Chicks aren't the only ones on tour this summer. Katie is too, but hers is called a listening tour, an Eye on America road show. The press has been barred for most of Couric's appearance, though. But in the Twin Cities the other day, someone accidentally sent an invitation to Matt Bartell. He's a Minnesota blogger. Organizers caught Bartell before the event started, and they gave him a choice: leave immediately or hand over your notebook. Well, Bartell opted instead to turn over his pen. Suddenly it became his listening tour. He sat and listened, and his reaction, quote, "No one said anything all that remarkable, and even with the interesting things that were said, I can't imagine it would make any difference. I didn't get anything out of it," which is exactly what the evening news is. Ouch! Joining me now in the first of many Beat the Press exclusives, the sort of booted blogger himself, Matt Bartell. Matt, welcome.
Thank you.
So, do you see the irony here in a group of journalists coming to town and barring journalists? I mean, do you see that?
Yeah, it seemed a little strange to me, yeah.
So what was it? I mean, you're our window inside the shrouded secret world of Katie Couric's listening tour. What happens inside?
Well, there were actually some interesting things said. There were a pretty wide variety of people there. There was the Minnesota Teacher of the Year from last year who talked actually pretty eloquently about what she says to her students about race in media coverage. And there was a gay couple talking about how people should frame the gay marriage amendment. But what really struck me is that all these people were asking for things that I don't think network news can deliver. They wanted more depth to their stories and more variety and more coverage of things that matter to them. Yeah, one woman stood up and said she wanted more coverage of entertainment news, which is surprising. And it seemed to me that soon to be one of the top 3 news people in the country is going to be basing her news and reporting on what basically amounts to a focus group.
Yeah, well, I mean, if in fact they're paying close attention to what people say in these meetings, and that's a whole separate question. Yeah, I was interested, though, to hear in your account of this that once you were found out as a blogger, a journalist, you were essentially surrounded by 2 PR guys, like U.S. Marshals on either side of you for the duration. Did they intimidate you? Were you afraid?
No. It was a little more gentle than that. It was at first they said that I wasn't going to be allowed back in. And then they realized that was a little harsh, and I surrendered my pen. They gave me another one, which was very nice of them.
But you did not get the original pen back?
No.
And did you have a moment with Katie Couric herself? And if you did you say anything to
her? No, I did not.
If you had that moment, that magic moment, what would you say?
Well, I would say that why are you trying to market your news to all these different constituencies? You are supposed to be the news expert here and the person deciding what is important and what's not. You shouldn't be listening to us when you determine what we should hear. You should be the one to decide because you're hopefully more knowledgeable than we are.
That is such a smart point. This is like the age-old argument between couples. Just pick where we're going to dinner. I don't want you to ask me. That's totally right. I agree with you completely. People want the arbiters of the news to be the arbiters of the news. You tell me what's important. That's why you're getting paid millions a year. Matt Bartub,
Exactly.
Smart man. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
Still to come is the new 9/11 movie, Nothing But Tragedy Porn. You may not plan to see it, but we'll talk to someone who actually has seen the latest controversial offering from Oliver Stone. It's an interesting movie. It's going to be an interesting conversation. Stay tuned.
Get your news Oberman style.
Another sure sign you're famous when your LA obstetrician makes a house call to Namibia.
Countdown tonight at 8 on MSNBC.
Check out the new hit movies you can order on demand and look what you can order right now. From the makers of Scary Movie.
Idiot. Hell no, I won't marry you. God.
Date Movie, now on demand.
Make some noise for America.
Dave Chappelle is throwing a party, and you're invited. Dave Chappelle's Block Party, now on demand. Hit movies without the trip to the video store. On demand with Comcast Digital Cable.
Oregon business owners and managers have found a new alternative to old-fashioned, high-priced, classified help wanted ads. They're using PortlandJobFinder.com.
We like using PortlandJobFinder.com because we receive qualified applicants, excellent customer service. It saves us time and money, and overall, I've had a wonderful experience. I would recommend them to anybody.
There are no deadlines and no waiting for tomorrow's newspaper.
PortlandJobFinder.com. It's free for job seekers and good for business.
The number of high-risk babies rising in America at an alarming rate. What's behind the new and startling stats on the next NBC Nightly News?
My name is Leonard Ross. I was born in 1906.
The Dust Bowl, the Depression, and 2 world wars. That's just a few of the things Rosie Ross has seen in his lifetime. Through it all, he's had 2 great loves, music and his own independence.
If it's Friday, I'm playing at the Pinecone Inn.
Long-term care insurance from Genworth Financial can help you live on your own terms in your own home, receiving covered benefits where and when you choose. Genworth Financial, insurance for living, solutions for life.
My name is Ruben Martinez, and this is my story. I'm a hairstylist. I enjoy my clients very much. I say to them things like, you know what? I want to change your look. Since they trust me, they let me do whatever I want. I have arthritis in my fingers. This, after you do it 1,000 times, it hurts a lot. Thank God I found a leaf. It really helps. When I take a leaf, I become a lot more creative because I have no pains. I have clients for 20, 30 years, so I must be doing something right. I must be good.
Part of you is afraid to treat your menopausal symptoms. Part of you is afraid not to. That's why there's nomenopause.com, the website with information to help you. Because part of you has heard different things about hormone therapy and finds it confusing, while the other part just wants relief. Check out nomenopause.com today. Your whole self will know a whole lot more. nomenopause.com.
Still to come, is Star Jones about to land on her feet after being dumped by The View? We'll bring you the latest on that. Plus, has this show been too tough on fallen newsman Dan Rather? We'll get to those stories in just a minute, but first, here's a look at your headlines.
I'm Margaret Brennan with your CNBC Market Wrap. A major sell-off on Wall Street sparked by violence in the Middle East. The Dow tumbling down almost 167 points. The S&P 500 down by more than 16. The tech sector taking a hit in part due to news of job cuts at Intel. NASDAQ closing off by 36 points, closing at its lowest levels since October of last year. Mideast violence sending crude oil to a new record high of $76.60 a barrel. New York trading. That's up $1.75 or more than 2%. Surging energy prices driving down SUV sales, that leading Ford Motors to cut its dividend in half today from 10 to 5 cents a share. The company also cutting board member compensation. And a major victory for Vioxx maker Merck after an Atlantic City jury decided the painkiller did not cause a 68-year-old woman's heart attack. Merck now victorious in 4 of 7 Vioxx-related lawsuits. I'm Margaret Brennan. Back to Tucker.
Time now to take a quick look at the people and stories making news today. Former CIA employee Valerie Plame and her husband, Joe Wilson, filed suit in federal court against Vice President Dick Cheney, presidential advisor Karl Rove, and former Cheney chief of staff Scooter Libby. The charge, they disclosed Plame's classified CIA status. That disclosure says the suit was a conspiracy at the White House. We will see. I don't think they've got much of a case if the federal prosecutor isn't indicting anybody on those same charges. May be hard to prove it was a crime, but the one thing we will learn in this suit, and the one reason I'm for it, what did Valerie Plame do at CIA? Was she really at the very center of American national security, or was she just another CIA employee? We'll find out. Well, it seems Dr. Jack Kevorkian is a proponent of suicide unless it applies to him. Kevorkian, who assisted in the deaths of more than 130 people in the 1990s, encouraging many of them to kill themselves, is now in failing health at a Michigan prison. As his death looms, he says he still believes in assisted suicide, but he would not choose it for himself. Oh, really? So suicide is good enough for other people. Jack Kevorkian, who clearly, take a close look at the case and you'll make the same conclusion, clearly had a sexual attraction to death, was a creep, full-blown, has reinvented himself as an advocate for choice in suicide. No, he was someone who helped other people commit suicide because he got off on it. And now when his time comes, he's not man enough to kill himself. Jack Kevorkian, shame on you. Well, a quarter century after HIV and AIDS hit the U.S., we are just now realizing it might be a good idea to test people for it. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention will formally recommend that doctors routinely ask adult patients to take an HIV test. The CDC says 25% of Americans who are infected with HIV don't know they have it. So after 25 years, this obvious step. Just to recap, nobody is suggesting anybody is tested against his will. Nobody is suggesting mandatory anything. Merely the suggestion that doctors say, would you like an HIV test? It's amazing and worth looking carefully at the question, why did it take 25 years to do something like this? Is Star Jones planning to bring her unspecified talents to the world of cable news? In Touch Weekly magazine, which really is a poor man's Us Weekly, quite frankly, is reporting the talk show diva has been approached by both CNN and Fox News. Well, a Fox spokesman responded by saying the network has, quote, no interest, which is another way of saying Star Jones is driving a hard bargain, making unreasonable demands, but that's why they call it negotiation. We'll keep up with that story. Oliver Stone's latest movie, World Trade Center, opens next month. It documents the excruciating horrors that took place both inside and outside the Twin Towers during the attacks of 9/11. But here's a question. Why do we need Hollywood to remind us of a tragedy many of us watched with our own eyes and can't forget? How could the drama possibly compare to reality? I'm joined now by a man who can help us answer that question. Newsweek's senior writer, Devin Gordon, was one of a select few to actually watch World Trade Center at a critics screening this week. He joins me from New York now. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
What'd you think?
Well, I'm not a critic, so I don't want to review the movie, but it's
Well, how did it strike you? You live in New York. I mean, tell me what you thought.
Well, it tells a side of the story that we haven't seen. I mean, to answer your initial question about why do people need to see something that they watched with their own eyes 5 years ago, well, you didn't see this part of it. I'm sure that's what Oliver Stone would say. I'm sure that's what Paramount would say. And they got a pretty compelling case. What happened inside the building is not something anyone has ever seen. What happened to these two particular guys is not something they've ever seen, and that's what the movie documents.
The second you hear the phrase Oliver Stone, you think, what? Conspiracies. And nobody wants to see a movie that implies conspiracies behind 9/11 made. Is there any implication at all in this film that, say, the U.S. government or Israel was behind these attacks?
Absolutely none. There's not a bit of conspiracy theory in the movie whatsoever. I mean, I think to the point where it's almost hard to even find subtle hints of conspiracy theory, which you might think that maybe Oliver Stone would try to jab something in there, but you'd have to go over it with a fine-tooth comb to find anything that's even remotely conspiracy-oriented in the film.
Any politics in it at all?
No, not any. It really is a personal story about these these Port Authority cops and their families and dealing with whether or not they were alive or dead, and the cops trying to get out alive. That's what it's about.
How sad is it?
It's pretty sad. I mean, you know, sometimes it's tough to distinguish between what you're feeling because you remember that day and the power of the story itself and what the movie is stirring in you. I haven't figured out which is which, but either way you cut it, it's a very powerful story. It's a very emotional story, and especially if you were in New York on that day, it's hard to imagine not being moved by it.
Why would you want to watch it? I mean, I look at that and I think, I'm glad to know that Oliver Stone isn't pushing some bizarre agenda, and he is a talented filmmaker, and I'm sure it's a beautiful picture. But I look at that and I say, you know, the last series of emotions I want to reawaken are the ones I felt on 9/11. Why would I want to watch this?
Yeah, it's weird. I mean, a lot of people have that exact same feeling that, you know, why do I want to watch a movie about 9/11? I've had that thought sometimes myself, but on the flip side, there are people who very much want to see movies like this. They want to remember these things. They want to be reminded of what happened, and this movie is one of those movies that will offer you some good feelings about what happened because these people, you know, do actually survive. You know, it's the same thing like watching a movie like Hotel Rwanda, which is a very powerful movie. People will say the same thing. Yes, it's powerful, but you know, it's also very tragic. Why do I want to see it? It just comes down to personal taste.
Well, but that's, I mean, but also that's Kilgalli. This is New York. I mean, this is us. This is our country. This is a defining moment for us, and it's something that every American shared, and I think still feels sad about.
Yeah, but I mean, again, the personal feelings that we're talking about here are basically the same. Some people want to see a movie that talks about these tragedies and goes through them again, and some people don't want to go anywhere near it. It's just a personal choice, I think.
Would you recommend it to people who lost a loved one on 9/11?
I don't know. I mean, you know, like I said, I think those people sometimes divide into the same exact camps, that they want to see it and they want to remember just like everyone else does, and some people don't want to go anywhere near it. I mean, I would have felt the same way about people when United 93 came out and the families of those victims, that I would have thought, well, how could they possibly want to see the movie? And yet there they all were on the premiere night watching the movie in the same theater as the rest of us.
How'd that movie do?
How did United 93 do?
Yeah.
Well, it made some money. I mean, it didn't cost a whole lot. So when you consider how much it cost, you know, I think Universal made a profit on it. I think they did very well, but it certainly wasn't a runaway hit.
Do you think there's something immoral about Hollywood making a profit on 9/11?
Immoral? I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
How about unseemly?
I don't even know if it's unseemly. I think it all depends upon how you approach the subject and how well you handle it. I think that it raises questions. There are some things that can be considered over the line. It's very dangerous. But, you know, what tends to make people uncomfortable with it about 9/11, I think, is because it was only 5 years ago. No one seems to have any problem with people making movies, with Hollywood making money off of World War II or Vietnam or telling those stories. I think it's the proximity to the date that raises those questions. And frankly, I'm not sure that's really an issue. I think if art is done well, it's never too soon when art is done well.
Interesting. Overall, I think it's a very fair analysis. Devin Gordon from Newsweek, thanks a lot for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
And now, the truth about lying. A new survey by the Associated Press reveals that more than half of those polled think lying is never justified. And yet, 2/3 of the respondents also believe it's okay to lie in certain situations. Figure that out. Situations like sparing someone else's feelings. Then again, can we really trust the finding of a survey compiled from admitted liars? Good question. We decided to conduct our own search for truly infamous lies, and we came up with some real whoppers. We could say today's top 5 will add new meaning to your TV viewing habits, but that, of course, would be merely just another lie. We're all taught as children that honesty is always the best policy. Unfortunately, that's a lesson that, quite honestly, is forgotten by many adults, often with dire consequences. When it comes to stretching the truth, you might say author James Fry did it by the book. His memoir, A Million Little Pieces, was a bestseller until we learned that his personal accounts of drug abuse and criminal behavior were just a million little lies.
I think I made a lot of mistakes.
Do you see the mistakes as lies?
And let's not forget plagiarists Kavya Viswanathan and ex-New York Times reporter Jason Blair, 2 other literary frauds who just didn't have the right stuff. As a 4-time All-Star, Rafael Palmeiro was a hero to millions of baseball fans in America and his native Cuba. But then he was accused of juicing his muscles. Say it ain't so, Rafael.
I have never used steroids, period.
Wrong answer. Subsequent tests revealed Raphael was lying and he was suspended for 10 days.
I made a mistake, and I'm facing it, and I hope that the fans forgive me.
Fertilizer salesman turned wife killer Scott Peterson not only sold manure, he shoveled it, and he did it pretty well. But then Mistress Amber Fry exposed his true gift for gab.
How was your New Year's?
That's good. I went to the bar now, so I came out in an alley. Quiet alley. Is that nice?
Yeah, it is. I could hear you. Very good.
It's pretty awesome. Fireworks there for the Eiffel Tower. The people all playing American rock songs.
Caught on tape. Peterson was, in fact, home in California at the time. Nowadays, Peterson still makes his home in California, though in slightly less impressive surroundings. Cold feet got this runaway bride in hot water when she decided to skip her nuptials and hop a Greyhound bus instead. Then Jennifer Wilbanks foolishly decided to alter the truth.
I'm the person that did this to you. Listen to me. That is here with me. Pathetic, man. I'm so crazy about it.
If she had called and said, I got scared, I'm coming home in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and never lied, we wouldn't all be standing here.
Jennifer's punishment? You could say she'd cut a deal with prosecutors.
I do.
Sure, he may have sworn to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. But the truth of the matter is, Bill Clinton's record for recalling the truth is at times somewhat shady.
That when I was in England, I experimented with marijuana a time or two, and I didn't like it, and didn't inhale, and never tried it again.
I did not have sexual relations with that woman, Miss Lewinsky.
There is not a sexual relationship. That is accurate.
Let's face it, if Bill Clinton's knack for skirting the truth doesn't get the cigar, who does? Coming up, President Bush is not often compared to FDR or JFK, but will he be on this show? We'll tell you what he has in common with those three-letter presidents in just a moment. Plus, Tom Cruise richly deserves every ounce of mockery he gets on this program, but is it time finally to back off? We'll hear from someone who says we ought to let Cruise alone. We'll be coming right back.
Mom, these are awesome. You used to fit into these?
Total, 100 calories to help you lose weight. 100% whole grain to help keep your shape.
Hey, sweetie, I want those back.
Oh, baby, give me one more chance. Totally manage your weight.
Pink Floyd, Pulse, for the first time ever on 2 DVDs. Get 4 hours of Pink Floyd, including 2 hours of live concert from their last tour, including the first ever filmed performance of The Dark Side of the Moon, plus amazing bonus features. Pink Floyd, Pulse, 2 DVD set in stores and online now.
As you can see on my chart here, sales have exceeded...
What is that? Small business owner. They come in looking for loans.
But we only care about big business. Quarter. Our cash... Whoa. Our cash...
They normally catch on fire like that? Yeah, let's get some lunch.
Does your bank think small about your small business? Call Capital One instead for no-hassle business loans, lines of credit, and credit cards.
Hello, Capital One?
What's in your wallet? Oh, I want a loan. I want a loan.
Why do I like working here? I'm part of something big. I'm part of the future. I bring people together and send smiles, literally. Michael's my son. We have a good time together. Michael thinks my job is pretty cool. But what I like the most is that Verizon Wireless works as hard for me as I do for our customers. Through our tuition reimbursement program, I earn my certification. As I grow, the company grows. I am Diane Mundy, Verizon Wireless Project Engineer. It's very exciting to be part of something like this.
Coming up, Michael Jackson is in trouble with the law again. Are slumber parties and Jesus juice involved? We'll tell you. Plus, prosecutor Patrick Fitzgerald takes a break from the CIA leak investigation to go after condiments. We're back to explain it all in 60 seconds.
What we do here is we make parts for airplanes. We couldn't keep going with our regular telephone and ISDN lines. We had to keep up with technology. It had to be faster. Comcast Workplace makes it more efficient to download data packages. Hi, Bob. I'm looking at your drawing. It's so fast. It's instantaneous. We have a lot of email back and forth from our customers, from our suppliers. The fax machine is becoming archaic. With Comcast, it works well, it keeps going. It's been great.
This is not a hobby. This is a way to stand up against the big phone company. But nobody should have to pay high phone bills. As a last resort, I will use the arrow. Let's hope it doesn't come to that. Halt! Phone company, varlet!
Fight back against high phone bills.
Freedom!
Save more than 13% over the phone company with Comcast Digital Voice. It's Comcastic. Switch to Comcast Digital Voice risk-free and get all your Comcast services on one bill.
Welcome back. You know, I am not the only person in America with strongly held opinions. No. How do I know that? Because a lot of you call in and leave messages in our voicemail box. It's time to listen to them. First up.
Gail Ford, Southbury, Connecticut. The rest of the world did not hate us under Eisenhower, FDR, JFK, or Clinton. We have a president who's arrogant and brags and makes the world hate us.
Yeah, take a history course, Gail. I mean, that's the problem with political partisans. They have a time horizon about 8 minutes long. I don't think Bush has helped. I think the war in Iraq weakens this country. I'm opposed to it, as I've said countless times. But the fact is they, meaning Islamic extremists, have hated us for many years over many presidents. In 1979, the Iranians took the hostages. In 1983, they bombed the barracks in Beirut and killed all those American Marines. They bombed the World Trade Center under Bill Clinton. I mean, that's ridiculous. This is a problem that is deeper and more complex than a single president. And you want to know that, Gail. Next up.
Michael from Las Vegas. Quit picking on Dan Rather so much. He's really actually an honest journalist who happened to make a mistake. Switch over to Fox News every time they say fair and balanced. Now, there's a lie.
Oh, please. An honest journalist admits his mistake, admits he's wrong, doesn't hide behind the mantle of false martyrdom. I'm an independent journalist, blah, blah, blah. No. Look, even I, many, many years younger than Dan Rather, never would have accepted at face value the source he accepted at face value. And you know why he accepted that source at face value? Because that source had the same political point of view as Dan Rather. That's letting your personal politics infect your reporting, which even I, as an open ideologue, I've never done that and never will do that. No, I have contempt for his reporting. Sorry. Next up.
Carol in Savannah, Georgia. And I wish you would leave Tom Cruise alone.
Well, I think you make a fair point, Carol. I mean, at some point it is mean. I don't mean to beat up on Tom Cruise. I'm sure he's a nice guy. I've heard that, actually. So you're right. We're going to try. We pledged early. Willie Geist and I pledged in public on this program to stop being mean to Tom Cruise. We fell off the wagon. These things happen. We're going to get right back on it. We're going to take the pledge again. We're not going to be mean to Tom Cruise. Thanks for reminding us. Keep those calls coming. The number 1-877-T-Carlson. That's 877-822-7576. And if you're voicing your opinion and not satisfied with that, make it into a video clip and send it to us by email. The address, tucker@msnbc.com. Just to make it totally clear, we're soliciting your home movies. So send them to us. Still ahead, Patrick Fitzgerald has taken on the White House and the CIA, but he's now tackling the toughest, most delicious opponent yet. We'll explain when we come right back.
Hello, I'm a Mac.
And I'm a PC.
And I'm a PC too.
And what?
Yeah, see, now you can run Mac OS 10 or Windows on a Mac. So in a way, I'm kind of like the only computer you'll ever need.
Ah, touche.
No, I don't think you're using that right.
Touche.
No, listen, see, you can only say touche if you make a point and I make a counterpoint. You see, so I said I run Windows, but you haven't made a point yet. Let's try it again. You can get a Mac and still run all your Windows stuff.
Touche.
Never mind.
There's a ton of multivitamins out there. Which one do you choose? Centrum balances combinations of nutrients like C recharging E to help maintain immunity and help your body get more out of Centrum. Centrum is balanced and the most complete.
In the future, everyone will protect their eyes from sun damage like they protect their skin. Transitions lenses. They automatically adjust to changing light and block harmful UV rays and glare. So don't wait until tomorrow. The danger is here today, and so is the protection. Ask your eye care professional about transitions. Insist that your lenses come with a transition certificate of authenticity.
So, tell me in your own words a little bit about Geico.
Well, it's one-stop shopping, really, Geico.com. You can get a free rate quote, you could compare coverage options, you could file a claim, pay your bill online, even, have a little chat with an associate if you need help.
What about you? Can they chat with you?
I'm here for Geico, love. Let's not delve into my personal life, eh?
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
I'm sorry, Jake was next.
Yeah, well, we're next now.
Well, I washed all the dishes and I did a lot more. I even bought the dinner at the grocery store. And now, Mom, you find the key next door. This little girl's gonna rock it. I left some biscuits for the pup. I put fresh water in his cup. And now I'm off.
When you need to send someone money in a hurry, Western Union offers you the Gold Card Rewards program. It quickly pulls your information, saving you time and paperwork.
Ah, your brother Scotty.
For every story, Western Union.
Have you ever heard the saying, there's power in numbers? Did you know there's a 3-digit number so powerful it can cost you or save you thousands of dollars? It's your credit score. That's why it's so important to stay on top of your credit at freecreditreport.com. Log on to freecreditreport.com and find out how you can get your free credit report and credit score instantly and online. Log on to freecreditreport.com.
Free credit report offer applies with enrollment in Triple Advantage.
Tonight, sure, Joe's the right guy when it comes to politics and injustice, but does Simon Cowell think he could be the next American Idol? Scarborough Country, MSNBC tonight at 9. Tonight, watch back-to-back documentaries on MSNBC Doc Block. At 10, they fight to identify every body. Coroner, deceased unknown. Then at 11, accused, acquitted, then accused again of an identical crime. A brutal 20-year mystery. Suspicion. The MSNBC Doc Block. Tonight, beginning at 10.
Welcome back. Time for the cutting room floor. Joining us, our producer Willie Geist, back at headquarters with all the stories that slipped through the cracks today. Willie?
Hello, Tucker. Yesterday we wished Richard Simmons a happy birthday, and we mentioned that as we were speaking, he was on a competing cable network wearing a purple suit. Here is the evidence. Yesterday over on Fox News, there he is. Not beat the press, beat Richard Simmons Taylor. That's what this clip is all about. I think what he should do is stick with the bedazzled tank tops and dolphin shorts and never dress semi-formal again.
You're not going to hear a bad word out of my mouth about Richard Simmons.
I didn't say anything about him. I was talking about his Taylor. Just wear the dolphin shorts.
Love that man.
Me too.
Well, Kevin Federline is growing pop for money she says she needs to continue a different case against him. Isn't that a slap in the face? Debbie Rao has filed a lawsuit that claims Jackson has failed to pay her what he promised when they divorced in 1999. Rao, who is the mother of 2 of Jacko's children, wants almost $250,000 so she can continue her child custody case against Michael Jackson.
And Debbie Rowe also sometimes goes by Debbie Rowe. It depends how she's feeling that day. Tucker, I don't have...
How am I supposed to know?
Debbie, come on.
I'm a newsman, Willie,
that's
come
right,
on.
That's right. You're a hard news guy. Sorry.
Yeah.
I don't feel sympathy for Michael Jackson. You shouldn't either. The guy has magicians and chimpanzees on his payroll. He has a roller coaster in his backyard. But this is a little low, don't you think? Can you just float me some cash so I can sue you? No. I mean, there's a point, right, where it's too much, don't you think?
That's chutzpah. I have to. He does
She's
deserve
got some nerve.
We'll see if you notice anything strange about this cat. I'll give you a second. If you said it has 2 faces, you are correct.
Wow.
The 2-faced kitten was born in Ohio yesterday. It has 4 eyes, 2 noses, 2 mouths that yawn in unison. The owner says he hasn't decided on the name for the cat yet, but he is leaning toward Tiger.
To me, the strangest thing about this story is that the owner couldn't come up with a more creative name than Tiger for a two-faced cat. I think we can do a little bit better than that if we put our heads together. I think it's the yawning and unison part that creeps me out the most, Tucker. I can't even call it cute. It's just odd.
I kind of like this cat, and I wish this cat well. I like all animals.
You wish it well?
I'm a borderline PETA member, as you know, Willie, and I hope this cat thrives.
I wish it well, too.
Right. Apparently bored with the pedestrian business of investigating the highest reaches of the United States government, in the CIA leak case, among others, U.S. Attorney Patrick Fitzgerald has set his sights on salad dressing. Fitzgerald's office has charged 2 men with changing the expiration dates on bottles of Henri's salad dressing and then selling them to grocery stores. The men made a reported $546,000 selling the post-dated salad dressings.
Boy, that is such a come down for Fitzgerald. I hardly know what to say. That reminds me kind of like when Marcia Clark was doing the OJ trial and she was on TV every day and now she's like a DUI attorney or something. You know what I mean? It's like you've been to the mountaintop and it's a long way down.
$546,000.
That's a lot of salad dressing.
It's amazing. Willie Geist.
All right, Tucker. See you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow. That's the situation for tonight. Up next, Hardball with Chris Matthews. See you tomorrow.
Tonight, attack and counterattack after the kidnapping of 2 Israeli soldiers today. Israel bombs Beirut, hitting the airport, destroying military bases, and blocking its ports. The militant group Hezbollah fires back and hits the Israeli city of Haifa. Is the Middle East on the brink of a full-blown war? Let's play Hardball. Good evening. I'm Nora O'Donnell in for Chris Matthews. The President of the United States says Israel has the right to defend herself. Tonight, the rest of the world watches with bated breath as the Middle East faces the prospect of a full-blown regional war. The U.S. vetoed today a UN resolution condemning Israel's actions. And Israel's ambassador to the U.S. says his country is at war. And he'll be here later in the show. Meanwhile, amid all this violence, crude oil reached an all-time high today, $77 a barrel. Plus, major political news out of Washington in the CIA leak case. Valerie Wilson, the CIA operative whose identity was outed in the run-up to the Iraq War, is now suing the Vice President of the United States and other officials connected in the case. More on this development later. But first, we have live reports from throughout the Middle East, and we begin with NBC's Martin Fletcher, who joins us by phone from northern Israel near the Lebanon border. Martin, thank you for joining us. Tell us, what is the very latest?
Well, Nora, right now I'm standing in the Israeli coastal town of Nahariya, which has received about 20 to 30 Katyusha rockets. About another half a dozen fell just as I was driving into town a few minutes ago. The whole northern part of Israel now is sleeping in bomb shelters as Hezbollah is firing rockets here, while at the same time Israeli warplanes and helicopters are still pounding targets in Lebanon, both targets of Hezbollah and also targets of infrastructure. Of course, you've heard that the airport's been closed there after Israeli warplanes bombed the runways there. All international flights diverted to Cyprus. And all signs are, Nora, that the Israelis are getting ready to up the stakes even further to attack Beirut in an increased and prolonged way. They say a prolonged way. Tonight they dropped leaflets. Helicopters dropped thousands of leaflets over the area of South Beirut. That's the Hezbollah stronghold where many of the Hezbollah leaders live. And those leaflets told the people there, saying, if you live near the home of a Hezbollah leader, leave your house. It's a very clear signal that Israel is getting ready to start trying to kill the Hezbollah leaders.
Could that attack on Beirut come tonight, Martin?
Well, I can't say for certain, but it's certainly everything's pointing in that direction.
And what can you tell us about the involvement of Syria and Iran with Hamas and Hezbollah?
Well, it's very significant. You know, Israel's attacking Lebanon because that's the address that it's their country from which the Hezbollah is operating against Israel. But everybody knows that the real address is first Syria and then Iran. It's Iran and Syria, in particular Iran, that finances, gives ammunition, and has done for a long time, both to Hezbollah and to Hamas, and certainly to the militant side of Hamas anyway, and certainly all of Hezbollah. So the real address is Syria and Iran, but for Israel anyway, that's really impossible at this stage to contemplate how they would attack Iran or how they would in some way make Syria and Iran pay for this. So the address has become Lebanon simply because, after all, it's Lebanese territory the Israelis from which Hezbollah is attacking Israel. Therefore, the Lebanese government should be held responsible.
And quickly, Martin, let me ask you, Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice has just spoken about the situation while she is in Germany, urging Israel to exercise restraint. Any sign that Israel plans to do that?
No sign at all. In fact, the opposite. The Prime Minister Ehud Olmert's response to Condoleezza Rice's call for restraint was to tell her, he told her this evening, look, we've been attacked. He said, Israel's been attacked. We have every right to defend ourselves. He said, Ehud Olmert told Condoleezza Rice, if you have anything to say to anybody in the region, he said, you need to talk to the government of Lebanon, not to us. He said, Israel is defending itself, and Lebanon is the address in order to stop all this. That was it to Condoleezza Rice.
Thank you very much, Martin Fletcher in Israel. Stay safe, Martin. And now we're joined by Time Magazine's Nick Blandford, and he joins us now by phone from Beirut. Nick, let me ask you, we heard Martin mention this. They are dropping leaflets. The Israelis are dropping leaflets in Beirut warning civilians, get out of the way. Does that mean an attack is imminent?
I'm sorry, this is a very bad line. I couldn't hear the question.
Israel is dropping leaflets in Beirut warning civilians to get out of the way. Does this mean an attack in Beirut is imminent?
Yes, this is the latest development by the Israelis. We've had a day of escalation down in South Lebanon and in Beirut, beginning this morning with the airstrike against Beirut International Airport, in which the 3 runways were cratered and which has effectively shut down the airport for the time being. The Israelis have been knocking out a lot of infrastructure targets in South Lebanon, particularly bridges crossing rivers and road bridges as well, which have had the effect of shutting off a lot of South Lebanon from the rest of the country. There were some rumors earlier on in the day that the Israelis were planning to hit Beirut's southern suburbs, which is Hezbollah's stronghold, where they have all their main offices there.
Nick,
the
let me
Hezbollah
ask you,
people I
because we are
spoke to at the
seeing...
time said this was not true, that nobody was abandoning the offices, that civilians living in the area were remaining in their homes. But I think that the dropping of the leaflets, combined with this steady escalation that we've seen over the last 24 hours, will have a lot of people in the southern suburbs extremely nervous at the moment and considering packing their bags and heading out to safer areas.
And Nick, specifically address, why is Israel bombing the Beirut airport?
Well, Beirut airport is something of a strategic target. We're right in the middle now of the Lebanese tourist season. This is a very important time of the year for the Lebanese economy. The economy is not in good shape at the moment, and Lebanon relies on the influx of tens of thousands of tourists, a lot of them Arabs from the Gulf. They escaped the heat of the desert for the cooler weather in the Lebanese mountains, and also Lebanese expatriates, people who live overseas in the U.S., in Europe, Africa, Australia, and they like to come back during the summer months to see their old homes and their families. So by striking the airport, they've effectively shut Lebanon off. They are also imposing a naval blockade of Lebanese seaports at the moment. So the only exit in and out of Lebanon is via the land border with Syria.
An effort to strangle Hezbollah, not only to make sure that Syria or Iran cannot bring in additional supplies, but to make sure they can't leave. All right, thank you, Nick Blandford. Now let's take a look at the roots of this conflict. We've asked Hardball's David Schuster to give us the details.
The fierce incursion into southern Lebanon is payback for terror attacks in northern Israel, and the Israeli response has now become the most ferocious and sustained military action in Lebanon in 10 years. Today, Israeli artillery bombarded positions held by Hezbollah terrorists, destroyed escape routes, including bridges and roads, and disabled a Lebanese power station. Israeli forces also blockaded Lebanese ports, blasted 2 military bases, and bombed runways at the Beirut airport. Altogether, more than 50 people have been killed and 120 injured. Earlier this week, Hezbollah guerrillas crossed the border, killing 3 Israeli soldiers and capturing 2 others. This followed a series of Hezbollah rocket attacks. Israeli officials say the military response now is aimed in part at keeping Hezbollah from taking the captured Israelis from South Lebanon into Syria and then Iran. Hezbollah fighters sponsored by Iran operate in southern Lebanon without interference by Lebanese forces. And Israeli officials said today they hold Lebanon's government responsible. In Germany, President Bush was quick to back Israel, but he also tried to soothe Lebanon's Western-friendly leadership.
Israel has a right to defend herself. Every nation must defend herself against terrorist attacks. Secondly, whatever Israel does, though, should not weaken the Sonora government in Lebanon.
European leaders today accused Israel of disproportionate force in responding to the attacks. Israel's military action is similar in many ways to another kidnapping 2 weeks ago in the Palestinian territory of Gaza. Hamas terrorists launched an attack, snared an Israeli soldier, and then offered to swap him for prisoners in Israeli jails. Israel refused and hit back hard. Tanks and troops rolled into Gaza, attacking militant Hamas leaders and engaging in gun battles with Palestinians across the territory. Over the last 2 weeks, more than 50 Palestinians have been killed. But hundreds of thousands of Palestinians have suffered as Israel has further tightened an economic blockade in Gaza. Israel's response in the Palestinian territory and now in Hezbollah-controlled southern Lebanon has outraged Arabs across the Middle East. But the predictability of Israel's counterattack has left analysts convinced that the kidnappings in Israel were a deliberate provocation backed by the radical governments of Syria and Iran. Leaders in both countries have extensive links and influence on Hamas and Hezbollah, and the terror groups and their supporters in Iran, Syria, and across the Middle East benefit when Muslim passions against Israel are inflamed. The fear in Washington is that the violence between Israel and its radical Muslim enemies could turn into a regional war. Despite the awareness all across this city that the situation is fluid and could escalate, the Bush administration and members of Congress are remaining firm. Officials throughout the U.S. government are expressing support and solidarity with Israel as America's best ally in the Middle East tries to take on terror organizations that have been festering along her borders. I'm David Schuster for Hardball in Washington.
Thank you, David Schuster. Let's go now to Jerusalem, where Newsweek's Dan Efron is standing by on the phone. Dan, let me ask you, in the past, Israel has adopted a more restrained approach. Now Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice is urging them to exercise restraint, but that's not what Israel is going to do, is it?
Well, it doesn't look like it based on the events of the last 24 hours. And I think it's not just Israel, but I think what we're seeing is, well, I hesitate to say unprecedented, but we haven't seen an attack like this from the Lebanese side in a good long time. And I think the Israeli strategy is to try to hit Lebanon so hard that the Lebanese government itself actually reins in Hezbollah and does the job for Israel. This has been an Israeli strategy. Instead of going after the guerrillas solely, you go after the government that protects them and that gives them, room to operate. Until things are so bad in Beirut that they actually manage to rein them in.
In fact, that is what some are saying could be one positive outcome of this if it does not cause a larger regional war, that what it may do, and in fact, is finally rein in Hezbollah. Is that possible?
Well, it's hard to see. I think on the plus side, we've seen Lebanon in the past year shake off the influence of Syria, of the Syrian intelligence inside Lebanon. But I think that it's a much more complicated situation with Hezbollah, which was for years just a guerrilla group, but is now also part of the political mainstream almost, I would say, in Lebanon. It's part of the coalition, the governing coalition. And I think politically it would be very hard for the Lebanese government to put pressure on Hezbollah, not only to lay down its arms and stop the attacks against Israel, but also to stop amassing a large arsenal of rockets and missiles.
All right, Dan Efron, thank you very much. Now, while most of the attention today shifted to the Israel-Lebanon border, the Israeli military continued its offensive in the Gaza Strip. For the latest, we go now to NBC's Fred Francis in Gaza City. Fred, it is good to see you. Let me ask you, this all began more than 2 weeks ago with the capture of an Israeli soldier. What's happened today?
Well, nothing really. The drum roll, the drum beat, the pressure stayed on the Hamas government here in Gaza all day today, as it has for the last 2 weeks. the thump of artillery shells. The Israeli army has driven a wedge in the center of Gaza to try to split the area. The people of Gaza have been suffering. There's no electricity. People haven't been paid in 5 months. It's the kind of pressure that, if nothing had happened in Lebanon, might have worked eventually. They might have gotten the soldier back, albeit having to give up any number of the 9,000 prisoners that Israel holds. But all of that went out the window when the Hezbollah guerrillas crossed the border into Israel, killing 8 Israeli soldiers and kidnapping 2 others. So right now, you cannot expect, nobody can expect, knowing the Israeli government and knowing Hezbollah and knowing Hamas, that this is going to end anytime soon, Nora.
Fred, you've covered the Middle East for decades. Explain to everyone exactly what's going on, that Israel is essentially fighting a two-front war on 2 sides of its border with Hamas and Hezbollah, and how Iran has essentially funded Hezbollah for years, and Syria backing Hamas. The leader of Hamas even, I think, lives in Damascus. Are Iran and Syria working together to drag Israel into a war?
Well, I don't think there's any question about that. I think people in Damascus and Tehran will tell you flatly how much they support Hamas and how much they support Hezbollah. When the Iranian leader came to Damascus, he was courted like a king here just recently. Are they trying to pull him into a wider war? I don't think that's possible. Are they trying to get them into the kind of war they have now, this two-front war? Sure, and they've really done it. This is the last thing that Israel wanted. Even though it had planned this Gaza attack for a long time, the Israelis knew at one point when Hamas got elected here, this government that doesn't want Israel to exist, that one day they would have to come in, they didn't think it would be this soon, and try to overthrow this government. For 6 years, Israel has been plotting how to go into southern Lebanon and root out Hezbollah. They didn't want to do it right now, but they are going to do it. A wider war? I don't think so. A long two-front conflict, which could go on for months? Very, very possible, Nora.
And quickly, Fred, how deeply does the U.S. have to get involved?
I think you heard President Bush say it today. Israel has a right to defend itself, and I don't think they're going to get involved. This is as far as the United States is concerned, this is about Syria, this is about Iran. Let Israel take care of Hamas and Hezbollah. Nora?
All right, Fred Francis in Gaza City. Fred, stay safe.
Sure.
And coming up, we'll talk more about the politics of this crisis with the National Review's Cato Byrne, the Washington Post's David Ignatius, and Hardball political analyst Bob Schrum. Plus, the top Democrat on the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, Joe Biden. You're watching Hardball only on MSNBC.
Would you like to know how much cash you can pull out of your home and refinance your interest-only or adjustable mortgage to a low fixed rate? Then log on to ditech.com and use our free online e-appraisal calculator to find out how much your home is really worth. You can also lock in today's low fixed rate with no middleman or broker fees. At Ditech, we guarantee the lowest rate and fee, even if you have a credit problem. Log on to ditech.com or call 1-800-71-FIXED.
Mom! Have you ever considered how much we depend on petroleum-based products? At Occidental Petroleum, we'll continue to work hard to protect the environment as we explore for oil and natural gas. We'll be guided by the same pioneering spirit of modern science that makes our world so full of possibilities. Because we think today's dreams will become tomorrow's reality.
Coming up, what caused the explosion of violence in the Middle East? Has Iraq emboldened terrorists to attack Israel? Can the U.S. help stop a full-scale war from breaking out? When Hardball returns.
Your salad.
E-Trade introduces the latest investing technology.
with an easy-to-use risk analyzer and powerful asset allocation tool for unparalleled control of your portfolio. Is it any wonder investors everywhere find it irresistible? Be enlightened.
Northwest Rugs, the perfect place to make your perfect space, is now offering your second rug at half off. Buy one rug and receive half off any second rug of equal or lesser value. Now through July, the entire Northwest Rugs collection of beautiful rugs imported from across the globe can be yours for half off. No rug is off limits. Buy one rug and receive another at half off. Northwest Rugs, the perfect place to create two perfect spaces. Visit Northwest Rugs, the West Coast leader in rugs.
A child, wishing to improve his community, trimmed his neighbor's gardens. But he was unskilled, and they were not happy. Then a good neighbor gave him a scholarship that helped him pursue his dream of landscape architecture. Comcast has awarded scholarships to more than 4,000 student leaders, helping improve the future of our communities everywhere. Comcast, your neighborhood is our neighborhood.
Welcome back to Hardball. Is the situation spiraling out of control? Is the region on its way to a full-scale war? Senator Joe Biden of Delaware is the top Democrat on the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, and he's just returned from the region and Iraq. Senator, first let me ask your reaction to what is happening today in Israel with Lebanon.
Well, you know, I just listened to your reporter on the scene. I think he had it pretty right. I think it's going to not be spiral into a full-blown war, but I do think there's going to be an awful lot of trouble for the next several months. And I don't think our exhortations from here about let the Israelis take care of Hezbollah and Hamas and us encourage Syria not to act. I mean, we're kind of AWOL here in terms of generating international pressure on Syria and on Lebanon to deal with what is an obvious breach of security on the part of Hezbollah.
You know, Senator, I was so struck today by one of the reports in the Washington Post today, specifically by Robin Wright, that pointed out the challenges that President Bush is facing. 3 fronts in the Middle East: Iran, Iraq, and Israel. And at the center of all of those is Iran, trying to fiddle and influence in all 3 of those situations. What more do we need to do now that Iran, part of the axis of evil, is essentially complicating matters for not only Israel but the United States?
Well, you know, one of the things we should have done 2 years ago is speak with them. Actually have direct contact with them. If you notice, we took 2.5 years even get to the point where we said we'd sit down with our European allies and deal with them. And so what happens is now we're so bogged down in Iraq because of the absolute because of not such a sound policy as to how to proceed by this administration, that the rest of the area knows that they can pretty well act with impunity without a whole lot of concern about U.S. counterreaction. And we have kind of lost the support of an awful lot of the world, thinking our judgment is sound enough. They want to join us in collective pressure, with the exception of what is going on in Iran now, which is sort of the last-ditch effort on the part of Europe and the United States sitting down with them now.
Let me read you something that was in the New York Times today to help people, know where Hezbollah and Hamas are getting much of their funding from. Hezbollah and Hamas are part of a complex 4-way relationship with each other and Iran and Syria. Iran helped to create, finance, and train Hezbollah. Hamas's political leader, Khalid Mashal, lives and works in Damascus. The expectation among political and foreign affairs analysts is that Hamas and Hezbollah would never have taken such provocative actions without at least the tacit approval of their sponsors in Tehran or Damascus. Why shouldn't Americans at home be concerned? The stock market tanking, oil prices up, Tehran and Damascus trying to drag Israel into a regional conflict.
They should be concerned. They should be concerned. But the idea that Israel is in a position they're going to strike Iran and there be a regional war in that sense, I don't think is realistic. The idea that Iran and Syria want to make it hell for Israel, try to split the rest of the world with Israel by, instead of talking about them, us talk about whether or not Israel is overreacting, Israel is restraining itself, Israel is doing it exactly the way it should be done. I'm not prepared to fly-spec Israel's response to what is an outright aggression, and after they have, in both cases, both in Gaza and in southern Lebanon, done the right thing. So, I mean, once again, the focus is on the wrong group of actors. But do I think that this is going to result in Israel concluding that they need a full-scale invasion of Lebanon and/or of Syria and/or of Iran? I don't think that's a reasonable option for them. And so I think you're going to see this low-grade but very, very serious kind of conflict for a while. The question is, what's the rest of the world going to do, and are we likely to lead it to some kind of consensus to put collective pressure on these parties?
Senator, I must ask your opinion on this. The president has made the case repeatedly that a democracy in Iraq would help make the larger Middle East safer, that it would help combat terrorism, the larger war on terrorism. Is it the case that the war in Iraq has led in part to what has happened today in the actions by Hamas and Hezbollah?
Yes. Yes. Look, the big debate, Nora, and you've talked to me about it and others 3 years ago, is the road to peace in Israel through Beirut? Is the road to peace through Baghdad, or is it through the Middle East, through Israel and the Palestinian areas? This administration argued the road to peace in Israel was through Baghdad. In fact, it has made the road to peace in Israel more difficult because of the miscalculations, because of the bringing this to the center, becoming a center for terror that didn't exist before, and because we are so tied down in terms of our responsibilities and our concerns in Iraq, there's very little time for it, not just militarily and economically, but in terms of the brain-powered administration. You know, the same dozen people in any one administration make this all of the important decisions. And these guys now and women are so tied down on dealing with Iraq and it being out of control that essentially we've been, as to use the phrase, AWOL in terms of an overall strategy for the rest of the region.
Let me get you specifically on that point, because the soldier that was captured, the Israeli soldier was captured more than 2 weeks ago. And just yesterday, where 2 members of the President's National Security Council arrived in the region. Has this administration ignored or not paid enough attention to the problems in
I think
Israel
it cares. Let me make, I don't want people thinking I don't think the President administration cares about Israel. They do. They care deeply about it.
Of course they do. Of course they do, yeah.
Well, no, I'm not saying you're implying that. I just want to make sure that this isn't misinterpreted what I'm about to say. But look, the idea, you've just made my point by pointing out that only yesterday, what do you think would have been the case were we not tied down in Iraq? I imagine you would have had an immediate response. You would have been immediately on the phone as President of the United States with France and the European Union, with the Arab neighbors. You would have been immediately beginning to engage directly with Abu Mazen as well as Olmert. You would have been engaged. But in fact, they weren't.
All right. Well, thank you to Senator Joe Biden. We appreciate it.
Thank you
and
very
when
much.
we return, Washington Post columnist David Ignatius, who's just back from Lebanon. You're watching Hardball only on MSNBC.
Global warming is certainly an issue that should be taken more seriously by the current administration.
There are a million reasons to travel. There's one site to search before you go. Kayak.com. Life's a trip.
Hi, Richard Thalheimer here to share with you the number 5 reason Ionic Breeze is the most popular air purifier in America. It's the only one where you never have to buy a replacement filter. That's why most air purifiers don't work. People forget to change the filters, but Ionic Breeze has a permanent filter, and you'll be amazed to see what it collects on that grid, and so happy it's not in your lungs. Please, let me send you an Ionic Breeze for your own 2-month home trial. I guarantee you'll sleep better or feel better, and if not, call me for a complete refund. I'll even pay the shipping both ways. You have nothing to lose and everything to gain.
We all deserve to breathe fresh, clean air, especially in our homes. With the Sharper Image Clean Air Now campaign, you can. For the very first time, America's most trusted brand of air purifier is offering an additional Ionic Breeze Quadra for free. The Ionic Breeze charges incoming air, so pollen, dust, dander, and other irritants attach to the collection grid. Then air passes through the new Ozone Guard grill coated with Premier Catalyst coating, recognized by the EPA as a newer way to reduce air pollution because it helps convert smog and ozone into pure oxygen. You have to move air to clean it, and the Ionic Breeze cleans and circulates air with no fans, no filters, silently. Order today and we'll give you a free $69 bathroom Ionic Breeze to keep small rooms fresher 24 hours a day. We'll even pay your shipping so you can use the Ionic Breeze risk-free for 2 months. If you decide to send it back for any reason, we'll pay that shipping too and keep the bathroom Ionic Breeze as our gift. But that's not all. For the first time ever, call right now to find out how you can get an additional Ionic Breeze Quadra for free. That's right, it is amazing. A free Ionic Breeze Quadra.
To order, call 1-800-509-5800. Don't delay. Call now.
Tonight, should World Trade Center be coming to a theater near you? Tucker takes on Oliver Stone's new film about September 11. Tucker, MSNBC, tonight at 6.
We hope you can join us tonight for the Thursday edition of NBC Nightly News on your local NBC station. We are keeping an eye on the situation in the Middle East. We're also watching the fires in the American West. We'll have it all for you on tonight's broadcast. NBC Nightly News. That's on your local NBC station. We'll look for you then.
Welcome back to Hardball. Washington Post columnist David Ignatius just returned from Lebanon and joins us now live. David, let me ask you, has the administration, the Bush administration, paid enough attention to what's going on in Israel?
Well, it's been watching Israel closely. The dilemma the United States faces today is that the Lebanese government, which is trying to absorb these blows, the Beirut airport being attacked, Lebanese air bases being attacked today, is a key ally of the United States. The Cedar Revolution, as we call it, last year, that put the government of Prime Minister Siniora in place is one of the major achievements of U.S. foreign policy in the Middle East, with a lot of things going badly. That was a success. So it's the reason Condoleezza Rice said today that she would like to see restraint is she's afraid that Lebanese government, a key U.S. ally, may get swept right over the edge in the aftermath of this. That would be unfortunate for the U.S.
And it's interesting just now that Saudi Arabia is blaming elements inside Lebanon for the violence with Israel, usually what would be described probably as unusually very frank language against Hezbollah. That is helpful to the United States and Israel, is it not?
It is. I think the Saudis are worried, as is everyone in the region, as should everyone be, that the Iranian proxies, Hezbollah in Lebanon, to some extent Hamas in Gaza, are acting in a very reckless way. What Hezbollah did in seizing these Israeli soldiers was effectively to take away the decisions from the Lebanese government about its own sovereignty. The country is now being bombed. Bridges all over the country are being taken out. That decision was made by a militia. It's an intolerable situation. I think the Saudis worry, as do many other governments, that the Iranians really are picking fights everywhere, and that at some point this really is going to explode. A regional war may be to overstate it, but there's a feeling that the Iranian threat now is being felt throughout the region, and I think we have a lot of company in worrying about it.
Do you think that Hezbollah acted with the tacit approval of President Ahmadinejad?
I think that Hezbollah is so close to Iran that it's impossible for me to imagine them undertaking a step like this without careful consultation, whether it was Ahmadinejad or other liaison with Iran, I think is not the point. Clearly, Hezbollah would not take a step like this without an effective Iranian blessing, and that's why this is so dangerous.
It's not surprising that the president of Iran, I mean, he has said in the past, I mean, denies that the Holocaust happened. He has said that the Israeli state should be destroyed. And just within the last days, he was predicting, he said that the Zionist state would end fairly soon, he was quoted as saying. And then this?
Well, you know, this is a lot of this is incendiary rhetoric that is designed to appeal to very radical people throughout the Muslim world. I think the point is that Iran clearly perceives the United States as pinned down in Iraq and vulnerable, and it perceives Israel as pinned down in Gaza and vulnerable, and it's chosen at that moment of great delicacy to open another front in the war. And I think that, you know, this is the kind of provocative behavior that if it isn't checked, if people aren't very, very careful and sensible, could lead to a wider war. I think somehow the Iranians have to understand that these actions, encouraging their proxies to take these actions, is not risk-free.
So given that, exactly what you point out, that Iran is trying to take advantage of the United States' involvement in Iraq, Israel's engagement with Hamas in Gaza, what then is the challenge for the Bush administration?
Well, I think that responding to this is obviously a very complicated, multi-level problem. But I would say, first of all, it's crucial to act with as much international support as you can get. We have the G8 summit coming up in St. Petersburg. It's crucial that all of our friends and allies say with us, these actions are intolerable.
But didn't Russia accuse Israel today of acting with excessive force?
Russia has not been solid on this issue, but I know that the Bush administration is going to try its best to keep some coalition of support around its demand that Iran cease its nuclear program and cease other provocative actions.
All right. Well, thank you to David Ignatius. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
And still ahead, Israel's ambassador to the United States. He says his nation is at war. We're going to ask him about it. You're watching Hardball, only on MSNBC.
We've always wanted a home that's unusual.
This is lovely, but we really want a view of the sea.
Yeah.
Find your perfect place. It's easy at RE/MAX.com. Now RE/MAX.com offers more home listings to choose from than ever before. Nobody sells more real estate than RE/MAX.
Dear Dr. Z, my class is learning about the environment. What are you doing to help?
Well, class, this Jeep Liberty diesel gets 26 highway miles per gallon. And we're building a Flex Fuel Commander and Grand Cherokee. Plus, coming soon, the world's cleanest diesel. They're our cleanest 4x4s ever.
It's a joke.
Is that mustache real?
Get employee pricing plus 0% financing on 2006 Jeep vehicles. If not satisfied, simply return it within 30 days.
The absolute summer clearance at Joseph A. Bank. All clearance suits, 70% off. Every clearance sport coat, 70% off. All clearance dress pants, 70% off. Even every clearance silk tie, 70% off. Plus, an extra bonus, incredible clearance values throughout the store. Right now, all clearance suits, sport coats, and more, 70% off. Only at Joseph A. Bank. Now through Sunday.
My name is Leonard Ross. I was born in 1906.
The Dust Bowl, the Depression, and 2 world wars. That's just a few of the things Rosie Ross has seen in his lifetime. Through it all, he's had 2 great loves, music and his own independence.
If it's Friday, I'm playing at the Pinecone Inn.
Long-term care insurance from Genworth Financial can help you live on your own terms in your own home, receiving covered benefits where and when you choose. Genworth Financial, insurance for living, solutions for life.
VHIX.com helps people find the car they want at a dealer near them. How do we improve that user experience?
Include a vanity mirror so people can get an idea of how they look in their new car. Give them a free VHIX comb, too.
And your idea?
VHIX TV. Not just web pages, cool video test drives powered by Wheels TV.
Cool video test drives, now at VHIX.com. Just click Autos on Comcast.net.
For 7 years, they chased Lance Armstrong. Now, the world's greatest riders are in it to win it. The Tour de France, July 2006. If you missed the live coverage, catch the tour the day after on OLN On Demand.
Now the pressure is on. It's still a long way to go. It is long and interminable, the 1,000 meters at the top.
Ride beside the best cyclist in the world. July 2nd through the 24th, only on OLN On Demand with Comcast Digital Cable.
Sure, Joe's the right guy when it comes to politics and injustice, but does Simon Cowell think he could be the next American Idol? America! Scarborough Country, MSNBC tonight at 9.
I'm Margaret Brennan with your CNBC Market Wrap. Another day of steep losses as the escalating conflict in the Middle East sends oil prices to a record high. The Dow plunging on that news, down almost 167 points. The S&P 500 down 16. The Nasdaq dropping 36 points. Oil surging $1.75 in New York trading, closing at a record high of $76.70 a barrel. Mortgage rates falling for the first time in 5 weeks. The average 30-year fixed-rate mortgage nationwide dipping to 6.74%. And a big victory for Vioxx maker Merck in an Atlantic City courtroom. A jury deciding the painkiller did not cause the 68-year-old woman's heart attack. The victory is the fourth for Merck in 7 such Vioxx trials. Merck still facing more than 13,000 Vioxx-related lawsuits. And 2 major companies announcing job cuts. Computer chip maker Intel plans to eliminate 1,000 management jobs, and Tyson Foods will cut 850 positions, about half by eliminating currently unfilled spots. Now, back to Hardball.
Welcome back to Hardball. The president of Iran said today that an Israeli strike on Syria would be considered an attack on the whole Islamic world and would bring a fierce response. Danny Ayalon is the Israeli ambassador to the United States. Ambassador, thank you very much for joining us.
You're welcome.
Is Israel at war?
Israel is certainly at war, a war which was imposed on us by Hamas, by Hezbollah, and by the ones who are behind them, which are Syria and Iran.
So what action will Israel take against Syria and Iran?
Well, first and foremost, we are concerned about the safety of our population, especially in the north, as we've been hit very hard by the Katyusha and other rockets from the Hezbollah. We've had 8 soldiers killed, 2 kidnapped. This is our main target now, is to secure our northern border. So for that reason, we are going to go and going to hit Hezbollah targets and hit them hard in order to neutralize them, so they will not be able to escalate the situation, deteriorate the entire stability in the Middle East, and continue with their terror and aggression.
And do you believe at this point that you have been able to contain Hezbollah? They fired off rockets to Haifa today.
Right, which goes to show the big arsenal and the deep entrenchment that they had over in Lebanon. Once we left North Lebanon in 2000, we completely pulled out. Not even an inch of Lebanon is occupied by Israel. Unfortunately, the other side of the equation was that the Lebanese army will deploy on our border, will exercise their sovereignty of the Lebanese government, disarm the Hezbollah, which is a terror organization. This was not just an Israeli expectation. This was demanded by the international community and further Security Council resolutions. Nothing of this happened. Hezbollah is a state within a state. Hezbollah is financed, supplied by Iran and Syria. And the situation is that what we see today and what we saw yesterday.
The president said today clearly, Israel has the right to defend herself. The Secretary of State, Condoleezza Rice, saying today, however, though, that Israel must exercise restraint. Many people are looking at this story and recognize this is much bigger than usual, in part because of the involvement of Iran and Syria. Can you assure the American people tonight that Israel will in some way exercise restraint and not draw that area into a larger, broader conflict?
Well, absolutely, and I do not see right now any danger for a broader conflict. Quite the opposite. I think by going after the Hezbollah and Hamas, the real terror organizations, we will contain the situation. And I think by dealing them a blow which will put them out of the equation, this will really destabilize the area for the longer term. It may take a few days, it may take a few weeks, but I don't see much longer than that. And we're going to be focused on that. Certainly, we do not want to see any widening of the conflicts. And we respect very much the Secretary of State. I believe we are exercising restraint as we have been in the last 6 years since we pulled out of Lebanon, in spite of continuous provocations by the Hezbollah. But I think what we're doing now is an act of self-defense. And the Secretary also mentioned that our right is to self-defend ourselves, but also to make sure that the area will stabilize. And it will stabilize when Hamas and Hezbollah no longer can perpetrate what they have been doing.
We talked about this earlier, the Iranian president saying an Israeli strike in Syria would bring a fierce response and would be viewed as a larger attack on the Islamic world. Will Israel take any action in Syria?
Well, we have heard this very extreme president talking on many fronts. He talked about wiping Israel off the map. By the way, he talked about wiping the United States off the map by dealing a blow to all what he called, quote unquote, the moderate Arab regimes. He certainly has an agenda. Iran has an agenda which is to push their model of theocratic, monolithic, extreme, radical Islamic republic in the entire Middle East. I think it's a danger not just for Israel, but for the entire countries in the Middle East and much beyond. At the same time, they're pushing very forward and strongly with their nuclear ambitions. I think it's high time that they will be stopped. I believe that the international community can do that through the United Nations Security Council.
You didn't answer my question.
Well, Israel will self-defend itself.
Yeah, but I mean, whether there are needed any actions within Syria. The leader of Hamas lives in Damascus, does he not?
He is, and certainly we should not make any distinction between the terrorists and those who give them shelter and harbor and financial support and political support and equipment and what have you. But I think Syria and Iran should be called to task by the international community, and this could be done.
Are you getting everything you need from the Bush administration? Has this president done enough?
Well, we admire the leadership of this president, of this administration in leading the global campaign against worldwide terror. I think it is important. And today we see everything is interconnected. What happens in India or in Bali or unfortunately 9/11 here and in Jerusalem or Tel Aviv or Lebanon is all interconnected. We are in a total and a global war on terror. It's a war which was not started by us. It was imposed on us, and we have to deal with it very severely on the ground, but also politically. And it's very important to know that the international community can contain it by calling the Iran and Syria to the task, and I think they will heed to the Security Council call.
It's an excellent point, Ambassador. I think that's why we've covered this story with such detail, is because this is not a local problem. This is a regional problem and shows the struggle that we're fighting against a radical Islamic groups. Exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And more than regionally, it's global, unfortunately, today.
All right. Thank you, Ambassador Danny Island. Thank you.
Thank you.
And when we come back, reaction from Syria's ambassador to the U.S. This is Hardball, only on MSNBC.
The critics say it's the best way to keep news from getting you down. But if you ask me, Countdown with Keith Olbermann is the best show on television ever. Really.
Pure Dell. It's an uncomplicated approach to increased productivity. With scalable Linux and data management solutions, you can get more real-time information to streamline your supply chain. And it all runs on new Dell PowerEdge servers featuring the reliability of dual-core Intel Xeon processors. So growth isn't just a goal, it's a given. That's the direct path to success. That's pure Dell.
Introducing Kraft Natural Cheese Crumbles.
The Crumbelievable.
Intense nuggets of real Kraft cheese crumbled right off the block. Good. They're Crumbelievable.
Coming up, Israel is at war, so says Israel's ambassador to the U.S. President Bush says Israel should defend itself. Can they do it alone? When Hardball returns.
You grip. You turn. You slip. Yuck! There must be an easier way to open that can. Introducing the One Touch Can Opener, the fast, easy way to open cans. The One Touch Can Opener is totally automatic. Just place it on the can, press the button, and your can opens in seconds. Amazing! Look, manual can openers take so much twisting and turning, it can be almost impossible to open a can. But with the One Touch Can Opener, you just touch and go. It's that easy. Best of all, it works on any size can, small, medium, or large. Nothing is easier than the One Touch Can Opener. Watch out. With ordinary can openers, that lid is sharp enough to slice your finger. But the One Touch cuts from the side, so there's no sharp edges, and the lid can never fall in. You'll never have to dig that dusty, germ-filled lid out of your food again. Leftover pet food? The lid pops right back on the can to store in the refrigerator. That saves you money.
My arthritis actually made it painful for me, but with the one-touch can opener, I can push a button and the can is open for me.
Move over, bulky can openers, and say hello to counter space. Just press and go. Nothing is faster or easier. The one-touch can opener really will be the last can opener you'll ever have to buy. Now, on this special TV offer, get the one-touch can opener for the breakthrough price of just $19.95 with a money-back guarantee. If the one-touch isn't the easiest can opener you've ever used, just return it for a full refund. Call right now and we'll also include the GripMate, absolutely free. It's perfect for every hard-to-open jar or bottle. Just grip, twist, and pop. Stop struggling with those other can openers. Get the one-touch can opener and touch and go forever. Here's how to order.
Have your credit card ready and call 1-800-691-7192 to order the one-touch can opener for just $19.95 plus shipping and handling. That number again is 1-800-691-7192. So don't delay. Order your one-touch can opener today by calling 1-800-691-7192.
Next, should World Trade Center be coming to a theater near you? Tucker takes on Oliver Stone's new film about September 11th. Tucker, MSNBC, next.
Tonight, watch back-to-back documentaries on MSNBC Doc Block. At 10, they fight to identify every body. Coroner, deceased unknown. Then at 11, accused, acquitted, then accused again of an identical crime. A brutal 20-year mystery. Suspicion. The MSNBC Doc Block. Tonight, beginning at 10.
Syria needs to be held to account. Syria is housing the militant wing of Hamas. Hezbollah has got an active presence in Syria. The truth of the matter is, if we really want there to be the situation to settle down, the soldiers need to be returned, and President Assad needs to show some leadership toward peace.
Welcome back to Hardball. The Associated Press is reporting that Israeli jets have now bombed the highway linking Beirut to the Syrian capital of Damascus, but the main artery does remain open. And joining me now is the Syrian ambassador to the United States, Imad Mustafa. Ambassador Mustafa, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Let me ask you to respond. The President of the United States says Syria must be held to account.
This has become a stereotypical cliche of this administration. Whenever there is a problem in the Middle East, this administration always would rush to blame Syria. Other administrations used to do very different things. They used to engage. They would send envoys to the Middle East. They would mediate. This administration will only assign blame while it flagrantly support the Israeli position.
So is that why Syria is supporting Hamas and Hezbollah?
No. Well, let us be clear about this. Syria has nothing to do whatsoever in the current situation between Israel and Hamas on one hand and Israel and Hezbollah on the other hand. Actually, the situation is caused by the continuous Israeli occupation of the Palestinian territories, of the Lebanese Shebaa farms, and of other Arab territories. This is the core issue. This is the big elephant in the room. Trying to say that Damascus is to blame for this situation is preposterous.
The leader of Hamas lives in Damascus, does he not? Why is Syria, even the Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice today said that Syria has to stop harboring these terrorists. Will Syria do that?
Well, first, let us agree on one thing. The leader of Hamas does not live in Syria. One of the spokespersons of Hamas was expelled by the Israelis from his homeland, from Palestine to Syria. He was expelled. He didn't choose to go to Syria. First. Second, he's a spokesperson. Trying to say that the situation in the occupied territories is caused by a person who was expelled into Syria is actually trying to distract the attention. The true issue is that the Israelis have committed and are continuously committing crimes on a daily basis in the Palestinian territories.
Absolutely, Ambassador. I understand that you represent and must speak for Syria here in the United States, but let me ask you, because most reporters and foreign policy experts say that what Hamas did in Gaza and
in
terms of capturing an Israeli soldier.
And 9,000 Palestinians are captured by Israel.
Understood. And what has happened now with Lebanon and Hezbollah, that would not have happened, what Hezbollah and Hamas did would not have happened without the tacit approval of Iran and Syria. Do you completely reject that?
Categorically, this is rubbish. Hamas is a movement that represents the Palestinian people. We don't even have direct means of communication with the occupied territories. Trying to say that this is happening because of Damascus somewhere else is actually deceiving the American people. The American people should understand what is happening today in the Middle East is happening because of the injustices inflicted on the Palestinians for the past 50 years. The Palestinians are suffering and suffering and suffering on a daily basis. Now, who is the culprit? It's Damascus. Isn't this preposterous? Look at the core issue.
Let me ask you just very quickly, Saudi Arabia has blamed this on factions inside Lebanon, Hezbollah, offering very frank condemnation of Hezbollah. Why can't Syria do the same?
Why would we condemn Hezbollah when Hezbollah is only saying the following? Israel retains Lebanese prisoners. We have captured 2 Israeli soldiers and we want to exchange them. This has happened twice between Hezbollah and Israel in the past. Germany mediated, and twice there has been a prisoners exchange. Would you agree with me that the Lebanese are human beings that are equal to the Israeli human beings? If Israel is currently holding Lebanese prisoners and is holding thousands of Palestinian prisoners, and both Hamas and Hezbollah are calling Israel to exchange prisoners, what's wrong in this? Actually, only last week, the Israeli occupation army abducted tens of Palestinian elected officials, representatives in the parliament, and civilian members of the cabinet. This happens on a daily basis in the occupied territories, and nobody is concerned about this. Only when an Israeli soldier, military soldier, is abducted, suddenly the United States suddenly is driven into leveling accusations here and there. The United States is the world superpower. It should play a responsible role. It should help all parties in the Middle East.
Well, unfortunately, the UN Security Council did not agree today, but we'll talk more about that in just a moment because Ambassador Mustafa is going to stay with us, the ambassador from Syria. This is Hardball, only on MSNBC.
Hardballers is brought to you by Liberty Mutual. Responsibility. What's your policy?
We know responsibility is a round-the-clock job, but if your home is ever damaged by fire, we have help standing by 24 hours a day. Responsibility. What's your policy? Liberty Mutual.
Hey, try one of these new 100-calorie packs.
It's chips. Yeah, but I bet you get, what, 3 chips in this pack?
No, you get this many. Hey!
Wow. All this for 100 calories? These are good.
New Ritz Chips 100-calorie packs from Nabisco.
I wish we had a big house.
Well, I wish we had an affordable house.
Ours?
Find your perfect place. It's easy at RE/MAX.com. Now RE/MAX.com offers more home listings to choose from than ever before. Nobody sells more real estate than RE/MAX.
When you need to send someone money in a hurry, Western Union offers you the Gold Card Rewards program. It quickly pulls your information, saving you time and paperwork.
Ah, your brother Scotty.
For every story, Western Union.
Get home delivery of the New York Times, now in more U.S. locations than ever before.
It tells me in depth what I want to know.
Even if you don't live in New York, I think it's great to get the New York Times.
Get home delivery of the New York Times at 50% off. Call 1-800-988-6400.
It gives you the national perspective.
They're worldwide, really.
Science time, science and leisure.
The sports. I clip articles, I clip recipes.
It's just a useful tool.
Make your day richer with the New York Times. Get home delivery at 50% off, as low as $2.50 a week.
The New York Times really tries to get at the truth.
I respect the Times.
It's aerobics for the brain.
Sort of the how to, when to, where to.
I started reading the New York Times when I was 7 years old.
It's part of my family tradition.
It's concise, it's evocative. It makes me feel like I'm in the know.
Get home delivery at 50% off for 12 weeks, as low as $2.50 a week.
I feel like there's a broader scope.
It's fun to read.
It helps keep me inspired.
Now get home delivery in even more U.S. locations. Call 1-800-988-6400 for the New York Times at 50% off.
There's the Times and there's everything.
Dick says yes, and he says it fast. Dick says yes is the home of the guaranteed auto loan. Yes, you're approved. Choose your next car, truck, van, or SUV from 2,600 vehicles at Dick Hanna's Dick Says Yes, the original yes. The other yes.com sell off your information to 4 or 5 dealers, each running your credit report. Not good. Each run makes your credit score go down. Eliminate unnecessary credit checks and get guaranteed approval directly with our award-winning Dick Says Yes credit specialists who automatically shop over 50 lenders. There's 3 ways to do it. 1, log on to DickSaysYes.com. 2, call 866-YES-ONLY. Or 3, take exit 5 off I-5. See us in person. Your guaranteed auto loan and next car are right here at DickSaysYes.com. The original yes, #1 in customer satisfaction 2 years in a row. Dick Says Yes on I-5, exit 5, right next to Walmart on Highway 99 in Vancouver. Dick Says Yes, the original yes.
We're back with Imad Mustafa, Syrian ambassador to the United States. Ambassador, let me ask you, how close is your country, Syria, to Iran?
We have excellent relationships with all our regional neighbors, with Turkey, with Iran, with Egypt, with Jordan, with Saudi Arabia. Why shouldn't
Israel?
We have repeatedly, the American people really should know this, repeatedly invited Israel to engage in peace talks with Syria in the past 3-4 years. Israel has categorically, flatly rejected our invitation.
Iran and the new president, Ahmadinejad, has called for the destruction of Israel. Is that the position of Syrian's President Assad?
No, we have called Israel to engage with us in a peace talks that would lead to comprehensive, fair peace and normalized relations, provided Israel gives us back our occupied Golan. I think this is a very fair proposal. Give us back our occupied land and get peace in return.
Iran's president also said today that any attack on Syria would be viewed as an attack on the larger Islamic world and would be met with a fierce response.
I would say this would be the sentiment across the whole Arab world, not only in Iran, in Morocco, in Egypt, in Tunisia, in Saudi Arabia, because everybody knows that Israel is trying to escalate the situation and create more and more tension in the Middle East.
All right, well, thank you to Imad Mustafa, Syrian ambassador to the United States. And stay tuned for MSNBC for continuing coverage of the crisis in the Middle East. Right now, it's time for Tucker.